Now we're into the second chapter of James. We're looking at verse 3. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you some information. The Greek manuscripts of the New Testament in the 16th century, 1551 to be exact, Robert Estienne, that's Estienne, broke the New Testament down into verses. And the reason I'm bringing this up is this. When you're studying the Bible, you want to look at the verse in context. Now, I'm not a great person in English. I usually get used an editor when I write something to make sure that everything is correct. But when you're reading this, I can tell when a verse starts and when it ends. It doesn't end with a semicolon. It doesn't end with a colon. It doesn't end with a comma. It ends with either a period, exclamation mark, or a question mark. That's going to tell me that the verse is done. Why they broke James 2, 3, and 4 up, and instead of leaving it as one verse, I do not know. But we did study James 2:2. I'm going to read you the second, third, and fourth verse after I read the third verse, so you can keep it in context. And we're going to split James 2:3 apart as far as parsing it in the Greek and going to John Gill's commentary. But I want you to hear it in context also. So here we go first. James chapter 2, verse 3, the King James Version. Quote, "And ye have respect to him that weareth the gay clothing, and say unto him, Sit thou here in a good place, and say to the poor, Sit thou there, or sit here under my footstool." And it ends with a colon, unquote. So here is James 2, 3, and 4 put together in this one sentence. Quote, "For if there come unto your assembly a man with a gold ring, in goodly apparel, and there come in also a poor man in vile raiment, and ye have respect to him that weareth the gay clothing, and say unto him, Sit thou here in a good place, and say to the poor, Sit thou there, or sit here under my footstool. Are ye not then partial in yourselves, and are become judges of evil thoughts?" Unquote. This verse put together reminds me of an incident when I was working in Ann Arbor, Michigan at a jewelry store there. And I saw this lady come in. I had just finished waiting on a lady with a young girl. And I had put a very expensive diamond tennis bracelet on her wrist. It says, "Go show this to your mommy." And she did, and everybody thought it was stupid what I was doing. And I looked at the boss and I said to him, "I am helping you keep the next generation. She'll always remember this memory of this beautiful large diamond tennis bracelet worth as much as a house on her wrist. She'll always remember it, and her mother will love us for it." They were dismayed, so I took the tennis bracelet as they were leaving, and I went to go put it away. And there was this middle-aged woman who was standing at one of the cases looking in at a very large 48-karat purplish blue tanzanite set into a custom-made necklace. And I looked at her, and I said to her, "Do you want to try it on?" She said, "Oh, no, I couldn't." And I thought, why not? So I said to her, "Yes, you can. Listen, I'll be Harry Winston, you be Marilyn Monroe, and we'll just have fun. What are you having done?" Because I'm having a watch battery put in my watch. "Okay, well, come on. I'm bored. You're bored. Let's have fun." No. Entertain me. So I walked around the case, grabbed the necklace out, put the bracelet in there, and then I said, "Here, stand in front of this column." The column was all mirror. And then I said, "Close your eyes." I put the necklace on her, fastened it, and I said, "Okay, open your eyes." And she was so astounded. She touched it. And the way she touched the necklace, I knew she was taking it home. That whole look, that whole touch is just something that, you finally realize that I'm going to treat myself when I normally don't. Come to find out, she was one of the richest women in the state of Michigan. Nobody knew, because the way she dressed, the cheap watch that she had, everything, nobody knew. The salesperson came out with her inexpensive gold-plated two-tone watch in her hand, like he was about to get leprosy with it. And he was holding it out, like, okay, your watch is done. And I was like, Jeff, take her over to the diamond booth. She's going to buy this necklace. And he saw she had the Tanzanite necklace on her neck. And he was like, what? Who is this? What's going on? Kind of look. And I said, just take her over to the diamond booth. She's going to buy this necklace. And she did. $3 million later, or thereabouts, I was gone at that point, so I have no idea what she did after that. But turns out that she dressed normal, and she was one of the richest women in the state. Plus, she was very active in her church. Her husband had passed away, a very wise man, and left her with hundreds of millions of dollars. They were poor and used to clip coupons, recycle plastics, and had a hard time making a living. But he invested wisely as they went about their lives, and she reaped the benefits from it. And she made sure that her church was taken care of. So you can never judge a person by their clothing, because when you do, you're making a very, very big mistake against Scripture and against reality, because not everything is what it seems. So now, let's look at this verse, James chapter 2, verse 3. And let's break this baby down. Let's look at the Greek first. And, quote, ye have respect, unquote. When we look at this phrase, James has used it twice. He's used it in this verse, and ye have respect to him that weareth the gay clothing, and say unto him, sit thou here in a good place, and say to the poor, sit thou there, or sit here under my footstool. He also used it in James chapter 2, verse 9, quote, but if ye have respect to persons, ye commit sin, and are convinced of the law as transgressors, unquote. Now, this is the only time in the King James Version in the entire Bible is this used by James. Now, let's parse out this ye have respect. It is an aorist tense, an active voice, and a subjunctive mood. The aorist tense, remember, has no regard to past, present, or future. It is characterized by the punctual action. It's done in the active voice, so by you, and subjunctive mood is the mood of possibility or potentiality. That is this part of the verse here. To him that weareth. Let's look at him that weareth now. This is only used one time in the entire King James Version. It's right here. So parse out the Greek, and it is in the present tense, active voice, participle mood. So we are in the present right now. It's being done by you. It's active, and it's a participle, which means it has either an ing or ed, so it's something that's being done. Him that weareth. Next one, the gay. Let's look at that phrase. It is only used one time in the entire King James Version, and it's right here. Okay, definition of this one is that the person is wearing the gay clothing. It's shining, brilliant, splendid, magnificent. Let's face it, it's spectacular. That's what the gay clothing means. Moving forward, and say. That is in the second aorist, active, subjunctive. So that means that it has no regard to past, present, or future. It's being done by you. And the subjunctive is a possibility or potentiality. Moving forward, unto him. Unto him is only used one time in the book of James, and it's used many, many times throughout the entire Bible. But James only uses it once, so it doesn't help us much there. So let's go unto him, sit. So let's parse out the verb sit. It's in the present tense, middle or passive deponent voice, imperative mood. So it means it's being done now. Middle or passive deponent means that It is almost in always case translated as being in the active voice. Imperative mood, it corresponds to the English imperative and expresses a command to the hearer to perform a certain action by the order and authority of the one commanding. Sit thou here in a good place. A good place is only used one time by James and only one time in the King James Bible. Let's look at say. In a good place and say. Say has been done in the second aorist active subjunctive. So the same as before. No feelings of past, present, future. And it's being done by you. And the subjunctive is the possibility or potentiality of being done. Thou there, or sit, and let's parse out the sit. That's in the present, middle, or passive deponent and imperative. So we're going along the same as we are before on this one. Nothing new. Here under my footstool. Now let's take a look at John Gill's commentary of the Bible on this one and see what he has to say on James chapter 2 verse 3. Quote, and ye have respect to him that wears the gay clothing, unquote. Take notice of him and show favor to him, to the neglect and contempt of the other. This is an instance of respect to persons condemned and dissuaded from. Quote, and say unto him, sit thou here in a good place, unquote. The best place, whether it be in a religious assembly or in a civil court, quote, and say to the poor, sit thou there, unquote. Or in a lower and meaner place, quote, and sit thou here under my footstool, unquote. This also was contrary to the Jewish canons, that one should sit and another stand, while their cause was being tried. The law runs thus, quote, one shall not sit and another stand, but thou shalt stand, and if the Sanhedrin or court please to let them sit, they sit. But one does not sit above and the other below, but one by the side of the other, unquote. This ends John Gill's commentary on James chapter 2 verse 3. Thank you for listening to Discovering the Scriptures. May God richly bless you.